Missing in Missouri is an investigative podcast dedicated to finding as much information as we can in missing person cases and ultimately find the truth. We want to start off by thanking all of you for being patient. We know this 2 weeks has kind of been abrupt as to not having an episode. We didn't expect to take this long to have a new episode out. So we do want to thank you guys for that. It really means a lot to us.
Yes, we do. We've just been really busy and we've gotten a lot of information. And then we also went back to Sedalia.
Yeah.
And we got a face-to-face interview with the person that you're going to hear from today. And we got a lot of information as in news articles and pictures. And it's so different doing an interview face-to-face than it is doing an interview on the phone. I think you connect better when you're face-to-face. And we did that. And it was really good. At least it was for me.
I enjoyed it.
You were the note taker.
Yeah.
I was the talker. I gotta try and stop talking all the time. but it was good. And today you're gonna hear part of the interview.
The phone interview.
The phone interview with this person. We're gonna learn more about Dana, about
how she came to Missouri, what her life was like, how she met the father of her children.
And we're going to learn a lot more about Dana's disabilities, because it wasn't just one. And I think that'll help put some things in perspective, because I think there was a lot of questions out there of why,
It couldn't just be because she was blind in one eye. And
yeah, absolutely. So we find stuff out like that. And we do get new information. And as we've said before, no information is too small. So all the stuff that we got is good. And we're gradually going to be talking about all the stuff that we've gotten.
And we're starting to finally lead up to that night of October 4th.
Yes. So that should be coming up in, I would say, next few episodes?
Yeah, it starts this episode.
Yeah.
And then definitely the next few episodes, it does get a little more. We have more information about that night. We have now access to these articles. And it's a lot. And for those of you who want to see the pictures of Dana that we have acquired, go to our Facebook page. We will post them. Yeah. And we're also going to post some of the articles as well that we have from that time when Dana disappeared.
Well, because, we had a hard time finding any of these articles.
Well, and some of them, it's been so long ago that whenever you click on the link, it'll say page not found.
Yeah. And these articles are very good. I mean,
and really telling.
Very telling. And they do give a lot of information. And I think it's information that people over the years have forgotten. And if you get refreshed with them, maybe you start to see things a little more clearly, and maybe new information come about.
And definitely with these articles, what I love about journalism is that sometimes you see what's written at face value, but you also have to read a little bit between the lines.
Yes.
So you get a lot of information that way as well.
Absolutely. And like Morgan said, we're going to be releasing these articles and some more pictures. And we actually got to see video from that night.
Of Dana.
And I think that was the most powerful thing we've seen.
It definitely, I know we've said this before, but it really puts a lot of it into perspective. And pictures say so much, which is awesome. I love the pictures that we were able to take pictures of. But seeing her in that video, I mean, it's her.
Yeah, because you can you see the shirt, and jeans, and the belt, and all that. You see that, and you just looking at it, you know it's her.
It definitely gives you goosebumps.
Yes, it does. There's a lot to sift through, and we're going to do it piece by piece. And
we think it's just going to be easier that way.
Yeah, well, it's so much. It's
a lot. So much.
And these are articles that span from the week that she went missing, like the day after, all the way through, the 10-year anniversary and things like that. So it's a lot, and we have lives just like everybody else, and we're going at the speed that we can go. So just be patient.
Hopefully we're back on track, and now every episode will be released on Friday. And next time we'll let you know when we have a little bit of a hiatus. This one was just kind of it just happened, a spur of the moment.
Yeah, it was unexpected.
Yeah.
Because we made the quick decision to go down to Sedalia and meet with this person. I really enjoyed it.
I did too. I think it was one of the best decisions that we've made.
Yeah. Yes, it was. And we spent what? At least a good, I would say 3.5 hours down there talking and looking through pictures. And we sit and we had coffee, and it was amazing. It was really good. And there are amazing people out there.
Definitely.
So that's all I got. Well, yeah, because I don't want to get into...
We don't want to get into anything having to deal with the phone call until you guys hear it.
Yeah.
So we're going to play that now, and then at the end we'll do our normal, and we'll talk a little bit about it.
Yeah.
Hi. I'm sorry. Is it too late, or can we visit for a little bit?
No, we can visit for a little bit.
Okay, great. Get me some coffee here and a cigarette, and we're going to visit.
Okay. Is it okay if I record this?
I don't have a problem with it. I'm not afraid of nothing.
Okay, all right. And at any time, if you want me to stop or anything, you just tell me, and
okay.
I stop. Okay.
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 I don't know where you want me to start. I met Dana's father when I lived in Oklahoma, and he didn't have custody of Dana, but he was trying to get custody of her. She had been in and out of foster care almost her whole life until she came to live with me. And we kind of made an agreement, if I let them move in, that he would help me take care of my son, and I would help him take care of his daughter. And so we lived in Oklahoma, about 6 years, I guess it was. And my boyfriend worked in the oil field. Dana's dad, he worked in the oil field. His name is Jeff Bruce, by the way.
Okay.
He had a drinking problem in the past. Well, he was working long hours, and a lot of those fellows were using meth to stay awake.
Okay.
Back in them days, I think they called it crank or whatever,
Yes.
And so anyway, he got really messed up and started drinking, and I had made the decision that he needed to get help, or he was going to have to leave and whatnot. But anyway, I ended up bringing Dana to Oklahoma with me because I had some issues here in Missouri I had to take care of. Anyway, I ended up here, and I brought Dana with me because, like I said, her dad was in a rehab facility at that time. And she just got really, really out of control. I couldn't handle her, and I just had so much going on, And so I knew this lady, and I took Dana down to the juvenile people. I don't know what they call it. They just call it juvie hall. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, well, I know that she takes children in, and she does. I've heard wonderful things about her. And I had worked with a couple of years before that. Or, well, it was more than a couple. It was when I lived here before. we worked in a factory together, so I knew her, and I knew she was a good lady. And so they contacted her, and sure enough, she came right on down there, and she took Dana home with her, and she had Dana doing really well. Dana was in high school. She became a cheerleader. She was just doing really, really well, and we had visits, quite regularly. And her dad finally came here to Missouri to join us, and he was in a bad way. He was still on drugs and drinking, and just so, like I said, I sent him back, and I begged him to take Dana because she had family. They had family in Oklahoma. Anyway, we were just real close. We were a family. I mean, she lived with us for 9 years, and when I brought her here, everybody thought she was my daughter. People that knew me when I lived here before knew that she wasn't, but everybody else thought she was part of my kids, my clan. And so anyway, my oldest daughter, she was married at that time when we came, and we actually were living with her. And but anyway, Dana used to babysit her children all the time, my grandchildren, and they just, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Dana.
Okay.
Dana was, she was disabled. She was mentally disabled. And a lot of people don't know this. Now, she went to school, but she just could not do the grades and whatnot. She just really was struggling. And I knew that she had something wrong with one of her eyes. She said she couldn't see out of her eye, and you could tell it just wasn't quite right. So I took her to see an eye doctor, and he told me, he goes, she can't see out of that eye. All the nerves they're deformed in that eye, and that's just the way she was born. And then, so I kept noticing that she just wasn't doing good in school, and she just had a really hard time, with that area. So I decided I was going to take her to somebody and get her tested for learning disabilities and whatnot. We did that. And sure enough, she had multiple learning disabilities. And at that time, I decided that I was going to try to get her on disability.
Okay.
So we could, maybe get her some help, or at least she would have that,
Absolutely.
And so anyway, I did. I got her on disability, and she was, she was a sweet person, but she had a hard time, sometimes with just thinking things out. She would act, quickly on things and without thinking, and you could just tell. I mean, after you got to know her, you could tell that there was an issue there, And but anyway, I brought her here, and my daughter introduced her to the family.
Okay.
To Nathan. Well, my daughter knew all of that family, and that was it, and I was like freaking out because I knew that he'd been, in all kinds of trouble. He was a thief. He was a drug head. He was just all the time in the papers. He's just a all around bad dude.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, that's what they want. They want us all to be scared. And they don't scare me. I ain't scared of them. Right now, a few years ago I was, because I had children at home, and my daughter got threatened at school. Okay? Somebody called up there and told her not to ride the bus one day. And this was right after all of this was, it happened. Dana went missing, and we were finding out information, and we were sharing it with the detective that was in charge.
Okay.
Okay. And you've heard of I'm sure.
Actually, this is the first time I've heard that name.
Oh, really? You've never heard
I've never heard that one.
Well, Dana was with that night that she went missing. He worked for a company here that hadn't been here too long.
Pro Energy?
Yes, Pro Energy. Yes.
Okay, he's the one in the red truck.
Yes. No.
Oh.
No. I'm going to tell you, that's all a bunch of shit.
Okay.
It's just unbelievable, and of course we wrote down just about everything that we found out, everything that we heard, and you just kind of got to cipher through it. But she moved into a little apartment with those 2 babies of hers, and 10 days before she went missing, she called me up, and she said, "Hey, Mom," she said, "I'm sorry I haven't called in a while." And see, we didn't keep in touch because she was in that drug world and I wasn't, you know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely.
And Dana, she was on drugs. She called and she said, "I don't have any diapers." She said, "I'm broke." Stole my check, her SSI check. She said, "He has knocked the windows out of my apartment. I'm being evicted." Have you heard this story?
No, I have not.
But anyway, so me and my daughter doesn't live here anymore. She moved back to Oklahoma. She got scared and got out of here because of the threats. She just said, "Mom, I can't stay here anymore. I have to leave." And she was just heartbroken because her and Dana were really close. And her and my youngest daughter shared a room for 9 years.
Oh, wow, yeah.
So anyway, it's just there's just so much stuff that we found out, or we heard, and there was, just coincidences. Like one coincidence, my daughter, we had found out that Nathan had been to this Malone's bar that night. Dana, it was not her birthday, it was a celebration at Malone's. Malone's had been open a year or 2, I can't remember. It's a little bar downtown on Main Street, and they were having a band outside. And they have, in between there is a antique shop, and there was like a big parking lot there, and that's where they had their band set up and whatnot. So Dana was there that night, and she was with, and I have it. I have the video of it. Somebody was there videotaping that celebration.
Oh, wow.
And they brought it to me.
Oh, okay, wow.
They called me up one night. This guy worked for the News Journal. He tried to get me and my daughter to meet him downtown at 10 o'clock one night, and I told him, I says, "There ain't no way."
Yeah.
I said, "If you want to talk to me," I said, "you come to my house." He goes, "Well, I have something I want to show you." And I was like, "Okay." So he brought me this video. He brought that video to us, and we put it in the computer. It was a disc,
Yes.
And anyway, before he left that night, and he told us, he goes, "I will tell you one thing. If you take one of theirs, you're going to take one of yours." And I took that as a threat.
Yeah.
Well, did you know this guy is in the pen now?
Yes, I know who you're talking about.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm going to tell you, I don't think that guy did it, and I don't think did it.
Oh.
And they stopped him, and supposedly he had blood in there, and it come out to be deer blood.
Yeah.
And I want you to know, we found out his phone number, and we called him, we talked to him, and I don't think he did it. Now, I know that he's kind of shady, and supposedly he's got some family members that are in the pen, but I'm telling you, I just don't think this man did it. The 10 years of Dana's disappearance has been really, really hard on me.
Yeah.
And that, there's just been so much going on. But anyway, it's just been a crazy go around. I don't know. A lot of the stuff that I'm telling you is theories, okay?
Yes.
But it kind of goes along with some of the information that we've collected, over the year. And things are just, some things are just too coincidental,
I totally agree.
And, but did you know the night, well, not the night, the next morning, actually I think it was about noon, on October the 5th, me and my daughter were sitting there, get a phone call from, let me see, I got it written down here, let me see what it says here. It was, which is Nathan's sister.
Yes.
And I'm not sure what her last name is.
Okay.
That called, and I was like, she goes, right off that, she goes, "Are you Dana's mom?" And I go, "Yeah." I said, who is this? She said, this is Nathan's sister. She said, Dana didn't come home last night. She's missing. There is something bad wrong. She's just gone. We don't know where she's at. We've been looking for her. And I thought, that's just kind of weird, you know. I mean, It was just, you know, it was noon. Maybe she just, you know, got drunk and stayed over somewhere. You know, she's going to be home because she would never leave her kids. I mean, I knew that in my heart. And Dana didn't hardly ever go out. Mm-hmm. You know, the kids was with her everywhere she went. Yeah. And Dana didn't drive. She had to walk everywhere she went. And it was just, there's just too much. Anyway, where am I going with this? I'm sorry, I get off on tangents.
You are absolutely
thinking about
okay.
other things. But had called and told me, you know, this stuff. And after I hung up, I thought, this is so strange. How do they know she's not coming back? I mean, it was just like they knew that she wasn't coming back.
Yeah.
And I was really kind of freaked out about it, you know. Well, sure enough, you know, she didn't come home. And we had a police officer, well, he was he was a detective. He's still, I believe he's still a detective there.
Yes, he is.
He came here to my home, and all me and my kids were sitting around, and my husband was sitting around, and he started telling us, you know, about Dana and asking us, you know, how we knew her, and I explained how, you know, she'd lived with me for 9 years and whatnot. And he goes, well, how much have you been around her lately? And I said, really, not very much, you know. And I told him that I'd seen her. I forget the date, but it was exactly 10 days before she went missing. Okay. She had called, and I told him, I said, she called us over there, and she said that she had knocked her windows out, she was being evicted, and she didn't know what she was going to do. You know, and I had to take her I told him all the whole story. And then he started sitting there telling us, well, you don't really know Dana no more. No. Dana's gone. She's not Dana no more. She's on meth. You know, he just acted like she was an animal. Oh. And it it really rubbed me the wrong way. Yeah. Well, me and my daughter, we got involved with Moms Against Meth right after that. There was a group called Moms Against Meth. We started going to the meetings, and it helped us a lot, you know, just going and hearing other stories of just heartbreak, you know, from other families. And we had, one time we had a meeting, and came, and he did a talk, and about, you know, meth and whatnot, you know, and just different stuff. So after that was over, we started talking to him, and he was so nice, so telling me, I'm so sorry, we're doing everything we can, we're going to keep in contact, we're going to let you know what's going on, you know, blah, 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 blah. Well, he did not. Yeah. Before we saw her again, but the last time we saw her was, you know, it was right after that. Okay. Wow. And they kept us, they kept it. Boy, they didn't want nobody knowing about us. Mm-mm.
No, I mean, I went on to the Dana Bruce tribute page.
Yes.
And I, you know, because they're saying they wanted help finding her. And so I went on there and I explained what, you know, me and my wife were doing. I didn't get a response back. Yeah. And so a few weeks later, I did it again, and they responded back with, "We're not interested at this time." Mm-hmm. And so I said, okay. So then I started going on all the comments and just blasting everybody that I could to get information.
Yeah. Right.
And then I started talking to a few people, and then eventually, I guess I hit a nerve. Yeah. And it was told in not so many terms to back off. Yeah. Don't contact anybody. That I should have respected their wishes and not done anything. Yeah. And when I asked them, I said, well, you know, I don't understand if I'm just trying to help.
Right.
You know, I don't know.
Why don't you want my help? Why don't you want my help?
And it was, well, because we're misunderstood, and every time we give interviews or talk to people, they don't tell our side of the story.
Cool. people.
So basically it was like, yeah, they literally told me they didn't want my help.
Right.
And then, of course we started hearing rumors and stuff like that. And we went down to Sedalia. We made the drive. Oh, yeah. And went down. We got a bunch of addresses.
Mm-hmm.
And,
oh, my gosh.
We,
yeah.
And so...
Mm-hmm.
So we went to a different section of Sedalia. We actually went to the Applebee's.
Yeah.
And we had lunch there, and then we asked just a random person if they had heard about Dana and what they have heard, and started talking a little bit there. But, it was, we're from St. Louis, and then I looked up, I'm pretty good at research, so I looked up Sedalia's crime stats and everything, and their crime rate is worse than the city of St. Louis.
I know this. I'm going to tell you, it's crazy because this town needs to wake the hell up. Because the high society people, the people who've got money, have, high offices or whatever, they don't want nobody knowing. They don't want nothing. They don't want their little Sedalia town, to look bad, but they don't realize that people know. I mean, some people know, but a lot of people don't. And I've told people, I've said, you just don't even know how bad Sedalia is. I said, it is a dangerous city. I wouldn't want my kids raised here. And of course, I had no choice at the time to come back here. And I mean, it's oh God, it's.
Well, when you go ahead.
I didn't even know how bad it was until we started getting into this and investigating and trying to find out what happened to her.
Yeah.
And that's when, we found out how bad it was.
And, we did a whole episode about it.
Well, I'm telling you, it's just, oh, man. It's unbelievable. But I am so thankful. You don't even know. I'm going to tell you, last week, I've been going through stuff. But I've been going through I've saved everything that my kids have done all through the years. So I'm going through boxes and weeding out. And I kept running into stuff of Dana's, and I kept running into cards that she had signed, my birthday cards, Mother's Day cards. And I just sat here and I just bawled and just cried. And then I just started praying. I said, God, please. I don't know how much more time I have on this earth. But I want to know where she's at so we can put her to rest,
Absolutely.
I know what happened. I mean, I have a pretty good idea. But I just want her found so we can put her to rest.
Yeah.
And she was such an angel, and I just want you to know she got mixed up with bad people, but Dana wasn't a bad person. Yeah. She had a heart of gold. She would take her shirt off her back to help anybody. And then another thing that's real important, children loved her. Little children would just flock to her. And she babysitted my grandchildren all the time, and they adored her. So it's been real hard on all of us.
So that was Rebecca. That is Dana's stepmom. For anybody out there that was like, what are you talking about? Like, it took us a good while to find Rebecca. And once we did, as you heard, she asked us if we knew about her and blah,
And we didn't.
And she did. She had so much to say. And, that's only half of the interview. It is one of the more powerful conversations I've had with somebody about Dana. And you can hear...
This is really taking a toll.
Yeah, you can hear the anguish and the hurt and just the cold, I'm not going to say, I don't want to say bitter, but it's numb. She's numb from it, and she still goes on.
Yeah, and what I really liked was that this is someone that knew Dana and knew her really well. She took care of Dana. She got Dana the help that she needed before anything else happened.
Yeah, I mean, here it is. And she's not Dana's biological parent, but she's doing everything that a biological parent does. And I mean, that's commendable. I mean, we sat with her, and she showed us pictures. She showed us tons of albums and everything, so Dana was her daughter. I don't care what anybody says. That was Dana's mother. And she has, through all these years, been involved in trying to find her. Now, we all have other responsibilities, and life doesn't stop. And so she did, she had other kids. So she had to, in a sense, move on or learn to live a different way. And I think she has, but I think now she's at the stage where now, okay, you know what, I'm back on this. And she is.
Oh, yeah.
And she's not going to give up. She made that abundantly clear to us that she's not going to give up. You can hear in her voice there was some hostility with certain people that she believes was involved, or that she believes knows more than what they're telling people right now or telling the police. So she really just wants closure, and that's all she's ever said to me and to us, is that she wants closure, So after interviewing her, because we had started to look into some other cases and stuff, because we were kind of drawing to a near, this was the interview that kind of poured more fuel into our tanks and was like, oh, okay, there is more information out there. So she did that.
Definitely. Something that I really liked was that we were able to ask her the questions, the hard questions, like what were some of Dana's disabilities? Because we knew, as all of you listening, we knew it had to be more than just that she was blind in one eye.
Yeah, and she was very honest about that. She did not sugarcoat anything, which is good. That's what we need. That's what we want. I know that had to be difficult. I mean, that's difficult talking about somebody in your family. Like that. That is a difficult thing to do. But she did it, and it does give us better insights. And we learned a lot about Dana when she was a child. She did have a rough childhood. I mean,
yeah, quite a rough go of it.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking most of her life. That's, like Dana didn't know what an easy day was. And I think we all owe it to her to do as much as we possibly can. And that's what we're going to do. We will continue to do it until we run out of people to interview and run out of information and just start chasing our tails. But until that day comes, we'll continue to do what we got to do.
Definitely. People asked why it was important and why we wanted to talk with others who knew Dana before she got involved with her children's father's family. And this is why it's important. There are things that happened that you may not know about, or that's really important. Like she had mentioned, her and one of her daughters were contacted by Dana 10 days before she went missing.
Yeah.
And Dana asked her for help. And I believe that there was more about this in the last half of this phone call.
Yes, there is.
But she asked them for help, and they tried to help. And, like you had said, Dana didn't know what an easy day was. She was being evicted from her apartment because someone came in and busted out her windows.
Yeah. And, I mean, you're absolutely right, though. Dana was getting evicted because somebody did come and knock out all her windows in her apartment. But there's a lot of things that is going to be talked about that when you put it all together, we have to ask the question, why were these certain individuals not looked at harder? Or if they were looked at harder, why was there not an arrest made?
What happened?
what
to
happened.
stop that from being done.
Exactly, absolutely. But we're getting ahead of ourselves because you and I both know where this is going and where we're going to go with it. And I think we should leave that a surprise until we get there.
Sounds good to me. You know, something that Rebecca had mentioned was a lot of the things that she was telling us were rumors or theories. And to be honest, we have had some people ask why we're focusing on that, why we're talking about the rumors and about, you know, hearsay and things like that. Every rumor is based in some kind of truth. One aspect of the rumor is based in truth, whether that be a place, a name, something is true in the rumor. It may not be the whole thing, but rumors have some truth to them.
I agree with you. And how many times can we hear the same individual's names come up and the same stories come up before we say, okay, these are all different people telling us these. They don't know each other. We checked that out. But they're telling us almost the exact same stories with the same people.
And it's really two rumors or two stories that we mainly hear consistently.
Yeah. I'm inclined to think, well, multiple people know this and have said this. It has to be somewhat true. And if it's not true, then it needs to be checked out and it needs to be cleared up.
And the people who are in these rumors that we have heard, we've contacted them.
Yes, we have.
It's not that we haven't contacted them. So anyone listening, we don't want you to think that we have not sent a message to somebody who even may have known Dana. Because we have. We have reached out to anyone that we could find.
Yeah.
So if you're listening and you know that your name is one of those names in one of those rumors, contact us. If you want to clear it up, contact us and let us know. Like we said in the last episode, if you don't contact us and tell us, we can't put that out there. If you don't go on record, we can't put it out. And that's about as much as I think. So I think we made that clear enough in our last episode. I'm Morgan.
And I'm Zach.
And this is Missing in Missouri.